Hey, this is Ryan from Rocket SaaS, and you're listening to the SaaS Marketing Weekly podcast, the show that gives you actionable marketing strategies and campaign ideas to rocket your SaaS business. And if you want even more SaaS marketing ideas, go to saasmarketingweekly.com to join my free newsletter. Welcome back to another episode of the SaaS Marketing Weekly podcast with me, your host, Ryan, the founder of Rocket SaaS. And in this week's episode, I'm going to be sharing 5 of my favorite SaaS marketing campaign ideas that have generated a lot of leads for a lot of my clients. These are the go-to 5 campaigns that whenever I take on a SaaS marketing client, I look at the top of the funnel and I think, how can we get some MQLs flowing into the top of the funnel that's then going to nurture into SQLs and start resulting in sales? And I want to share these with you today. So let's get straight into it. So the first one that I'm going to share with you is what I call a separate brand newsletter. Now, a lot of SaaS clients that I've met, they're always trying to start a newsletter. They're trying to get more people into their ecosystem, getting their email addresses, creating a community. But it's really, really hard to create a newsletter when you're using your own brand, because people don't really want to subscribe to newsletters from companies because they think they're going to get sold to. They think they're going to get boring company news and industry updates that they don't care about. It's very, very difficult. And I've not seen many brands do it, particularly startups. So I had this problem as well in my business. We used to have the Rocket SaaS newsletter, and it was a really good newsletter. It was great content, but we really struggled to get people signing up because of the reasons I've just mentioned before. I made a tweak to the brand of my newsletter, and that had a dramatic effect on the uplift of people signing up to it and therefore leads. And then it's a great, great, great nurturing tool of people that then went on to work with us. Most of the people that actually work with us now as an agency to support their marketing usually reference the newsletter and they say, I've been following Ryan's newsletter for the last 6 months. I think it's great. I think you guys know what you're talking about. I want to have a chat with you now because I'm ready. So that's the power of newsletters. And if you can get it right, then it can work wonders for your brand. So what you want to do is create a separate brand for your newsletter. That means coming up with a new name for it. That means coming up with a new domain name. It means creating a new website for it, probably just a single landing page where people can subscribe. And the magic of that is that you can make it appear like 100% free educational thought leadership piece that if you're in this industry, you've got this pain point, you should be subscribing to this newsletter because it's fantastic. So to give you some ideas and some examples, a good example would be the one that I just mentioned. My business used to be the Rocket SaaS newsletter. It's now called SaaS Marketing Weekly. And the way that it's marketed is it's free to sign up. You're going to get free tips and guidance in your inbox. If you're looking to get SaaS marketing ideas and tips, sign up here. So it doesn't appear to be very salesy at all. Because it's not. We don't send sales content in there. There's always a call to action at the end, but it's always thought leadership, free advice, free tips, same as what I'm running through in this podcast series. Let me give you some ideas in the SaaS space. So let's say, for example, that you had some kind of an accounting software and you're targeting accounting startups. Rather than having a super boring newsletter that was your company name, you would instead have a newsletter that was called something like UK Accounting Growth Tips. And it would be like growth strategies and insights for UK accounting firms to scale their business. That sounds like a much more attractive newsletter to be signing up to if you're an accountant looking to scale your business, as opposed to, I'm going to follow that accountancy firm's newsletter and they're probably just going to send me boring industry news. So that's the shift that you want to make. So you want to be creating, like I said earlier, you want to be creating a website, a logo as well, a domain name, and then you want to be driving traffic to that newsletter. Now, there are lots and lots of ways that you can be driving traffic to your newsletter. I love a newsletter and I love how it sits brilliantly in the middle of the funnel. So I would create a lot of top of funnel content, and a lot of the calls to action with that top of funnel content shouldn't be trying to push people straight to the bottom of the funnel in terms of trying to get them onto a demo, trying to get them onto a call. It should be pushing them down to the next stage in the funnel, which can be your newsletter. So when I say top of funnel content, I mean things like creating video tips that you share on LinkedIn and YouTube, or creating ebooks, blogs, doing webinars, workshops, podcast episodes like this or doing a scorecard. You should be creating that content. You should be driving ads and organic traffic to that content. And then the call to action in not every single piece of content that you create, but I think the main call to action in a lot of them should be, if you enjoyed this tip, if you enjoyed this piece of advice, if you found it useful, you're going to love our newsletter. Sign up here. This is one of the main things that I'm doing with my agency, Rocket SaaS. We create videos, ebooks, blogs, webinars. And yes, I'm trying to get people onto a sales call. So I am always pitching that as well. But you want to give people an alternate, softer call to action, which the newsletter is a great one for. Okay, so next up, campaign idea number 2 is a benchmarking ebook. This is particularly good for SaaS brands because SaaS brands have a lot of data. And a lot of that data you can aggregate and you can create it as a really insightful ebook with some data that nobody else has shared before. Nobody else has found this data before because it's your data. Obviously, you have to be careful. You don't want to be releasing sensitive data from your customers, but when you take a lot of data from a lot of customers and aggregate it together and find trends and insights, that's, presumably you can use that data without upsetting anybody. And benchmarking reports are particularly enticing to other people. They're a very good lead magnet because people are really nosy about their competitors and about other people in the space, and they're often looking to compare themselves with others. It's like a natural human instinct. We always want to compare ourselves to others. So a benchmarking report is a great way to capture that interest. So let me give you an example. Let's say you're a customer service SaaS. You could create a benchmarking report that was something like benchmark your customer service department against 1,000 other e-commerce websites and discover areas for improvement. So let's say if your SaaS business had data from 1,000 other e-commerce businesses about their customer service, because that was what your SaaS was doing, you've got a lot of really interesting data points about customer service. What's the average number of tickets that are created for an e-commerce brand? What's the average abandoned cart rate? What's the average order value? The list goes on. There should be loads and loads of data points that your SaaS platform is getting. You can create an industry average and you can create that as a report and say, download this report. You'll be able to see where everybody else is in the market, not specifically, but on average. And let's see where you're sitting. And that's obviously a great call to action, because if the person is reading that report and thinking, oh, I'm way down on this, everybody else is averaging much higher scores than I'm doing, I really need to speak to these guys to improve this issue that I've got. So that's one of my favorite campaign ideas. There's a few ways that you can do it. It doesn't have to be an ebook. It could be some kind of a scorecard, like some kind of assessment where you enter your data and then it spits out where you're sitting averagely compared to everybody else. That's a great way of doing that kind of benchmarking report. There's other ways, you could release it as a blog to pump up your SEO. You could even do it as a webinar possibly, but usually an ebook is a pretty nice way of doing it because ebooks can obviously be very visual. So these types of books work really, really well when you can show graphs and trends and pie charts and all those good things. And it can be marketed really, really well. One of my favorite ways to market a benchmarking report or any kind of ebook generally is that you would take each chapter of the ebook and you would repurpose each chapter into a video. So let's say the person that was responsible for creating the ebook, or maybe the head of product or the head of data, or maybe the founder of the business, whoever, you would create a video, just like a talking head video, maybe 60 seconds, 2 minutes long, something like that, where you're giving insights into that particular chapter. And then you just say the call to action at the end. If you found that an insightful piece of benchmarking data, you're going to love our ebook. Go onto this webpage, download it here. And because this content is so unique to you, and hopefully it's really unlocked some really interesting trends and insights that no one's ever heard before, you can really repurpose this a lot. And you can get a lot of really good other content that can lead to this ebook. Like you could run a whole webinar about it. You could do a podcast episode about it. Like I said earlier, you could do a scorecard blog. And it's all leading people to the ebook. And one of the great ways of repurposing is that you can repurpose like snippets. Not the whole thing, just snippets of it, with always the call to action at the end of, if you found this snippet insightful, you should download our whole ebook because the whole thing's in there. And then the call to action at the end of the ebook is getting people to the bottom of the funnel. So book a call with us, book a free strategy call if you want to talk about the issues that you've identified with your data. So it can sit really, really well around the middle of the funnel, this campaign. So it's a really, really good one. My third campaign suggestion is going to be a waitlist campaign. A waitlist campaign is actually one of the most successful campaigns I've ever created for one of my clients. We've got a client called Inbox Freedom. They're a SaaS business that is like AI superpowering and organizing your inbox for you. And they approach, not many businesses approach me and Rocket SaaS before they've even launched the product, before they've even finished developing it. But they came to us and said, we want to build up some interest, see who's interested. So what we did, we created this waitlist campaign. We said, this product is launching soon. It was just a simple landing page that if you're interested, just enter your email address here. You'll get first rights to be using the product. You'll get a pre-release. You'll get the beta version. You get an extended trial. And then we drove, mainly it was meta ads that we drove because it was more kind of like B2C. And it got over 2,000 subscribers for a relatively low ad budget. I think we spent like $3,000, I think, on Facebook ads. And it just absolutely flew. It was one of the most successful campaigns that we did. And then when they launched the business, they had these 3,000 people that were just ready to go. And that really kind of opened my eyes to the power of waitlist campaigns. And I always try and suggest it to my clients to try and introduce a waitlist campaign where appropriate and where possible. Now, a lot of you probably listen to this thinking, well, I don't need the waitlist campaigns. I've already developed and launched the product. But you can develop a waitlist campaign for certain features, certain integrations, or even educational content, like some kind of new ebook that you're releasing. You could potentially have a waitlist for that, like the benchmarking report I just mentioned earlier. So the reason why waitlist campaigns work really, really effectively is kind of like a psychological reason. Prospects only need to be around 15% sure of their interest in the product for them to sign up to a waitlist campaign. So obviously they need to be probably like 75% sure if they're going to book a demo with you. But that percentage comes right down if it's just signing up to a waitlist. It's a very kind of light touch way of expressing interest, but you still get their name, you get their email address, and now you can market to them. It's a great way of getting them into the funnel. So to give you more specific examples of what you could do a waitlist campaign for if you are not going to be doing the whole product because you've already launched it, is a new feature. So, or it could be maybe a spin-off product that you're thinking of doing, or maybe it's a new industry that you're thinking of releasing this product to. It could be something around that. Most SaaS companies are always developing new products. You've always got something in the product pipeline development. So if you guys are really excited about a particular feature that's coming, or if you're like unsure, do we even want to develop this feature? Are people going to be interested? A waitlist campaign is a great way of doing it. It's a great way of testing whether there's interest in the market and then having confidence. A lot of SaaS companies just don't survey the market and they just go ahead and create it. And they spent all this time and all this money developing this feature. And it turns out no one actually wanted it, and what a waste of time that was. Waitlist campaigns are a great way of validating your ideas and getting leads as well. So product and marketing should love this type of campaign idea. Another one is integrations. Let's say you're going to be integrating with Xero or QuickBooks. Are people actually interested in that? You can create a campaign to see if people are interested in that. And then you can be using Facebook ads to only target people who follow Xero or QuickBooks on Meta and LinkedIn ads, for example. So again, another one of my favorite campaigns. You can promote this using the usual channels, ads, organic. You can have a call to action on your website. You can do cold emails to people. You can do cold DMs. And it's quite a nice, soft kind of outreach. It's not asking people to give up their time. It's just saying, hey, we're thinking about releasing this product or this feature. We're wondering if you would be interested in this because you are job title within this industry. If you are, sign up here. And I'd always recommend some kind of incentive, some kind of extended free trial or money off when it launches. Something like that is just going to push people over the line to sign up to that wait list. And then you've got people into the funnel. Keep them up to date with the update of the product and the feature, whatever it is you're releasing. Obviously, you can use that to market other content to them as well. And that's how you can really get you top of mind, get them pushing down to the bottom of the funnel. So great campaign idea. Give it a go. My fourth campaign idea is a scorecard. You've possibly heard of this lead magnet campaign idea. It's a relatively new one to the market, I would say. People are coming onto it quite a lot at the moment. And it is one of the most powerful tools that I've ever used. It's one of the best lead magnet campaigns that we've used here at Rocket SaaS. We've created a bunch of these for our clients that has worked really, really well. So I'd recommend you give this a go. The platform that is the most popular to run it through is scoreapp.com. That's the one that we use. I'm not actually aware of any other ones. You can certainly build this sort of thing yourself, or you can build some kind of type form yourself. But I recommend checking out scoreapp.com. That's the best place for it. But what is it? A scorecard is kind of, it's hard to describe in a way. It's kind of like a mixture of a survey / quiz / assessment tool. So imagine a survey where the survey is asking you various questions about your business. For example, if you were a HR SaaS company and your HR SaaS was all about how to improve your company culture, you could create a company culture health check assessment. So they come onto your website, they fill out this assessment, and it's asking them questions about their company culture. So like, what's your percentage of employee churn? How often do you throw company parties? Do you give open praise to your employees when they do something well, or is it private praise? All those kinds of questions. And typically a scorecard would have like 20 to 30 questions, always multiple choice, because that's how you can create a score. You can't obviously create a score if you just type in an answer. So people are answering these questions either yes, no, or like, kind of 1 to 5, or strongly disagree, strongly agree. And in the background, every time someone's answering these questions, there's a score being created. And then when you get to the end, you would typically get a score out of 100. So let's say we've reviewed your company culture based on this assessment. You only scored 17% out of 100. You've got some massive employee culture problems here. And then you don't just pitch to them. The best scorecards then give people advice. So the advice would be something like, okay, you only give praise privately when someone does something well. We recommend that if someone does something really well, you praise them publicly in front of the rest of the team. So next time you do a Zoom call, weekly catch up, give praise out loud if you feel that employee would react well to it. That kind of advice. So that's really, really helpful. And people are going to consume that scorecard and think, this is great advice. I'm going to implement this into my business and I'm going to improve my company culture. And then obviously there's a call to action. It's like, well, if you really want to improve your company culture, you want to sign up to a demo of our platform and check out how we can help you do this. So yeah, that's the way that it works, is that you're assessing people, giving them free advice, and then a call to action, particularly the people that have not scored very well, that you should be doing a demo of a product and will really help you solve the problem. And a tip that I found is the best way to get sales calls or demos off the back of a scorecard is to throw in a courtesy call. So let's say you're marketing the scorecard by the usual channels. You're doing ads, organic, SEO, maybe cold outreach, saying, hey, do this free assessment of your business. It only takes 2 minutes. People fill out the assessment, they get their score. And then the next day, you want to be giving them a courtesy call. And it's great because it's not a cold call. It's not like, oh, hey, I'm Ryan from Rocket SaaS. You've never heard of me before. Do you want marketing support? No, you're saying, hey, it's Ryan from Rocket SaaS here. You completed our scorecard yesterday. I just thought I'd give you a courtesy call. And the other person can say, oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, I completed it yesterday. I found it really, really useful. Thank you for those tips. That was great. So immediately this phone call is not cold. It's warm. You're, as long as the person found the scorecard really helpful, then the call should go down pretty well. And then you just obviously, do your thing on the call and just say, hey, would you like a free strategy call? Would you like a free demo of a product? Most people are going to say yes if they've immediately got value from that scorecard the day before. So that's my advice, throw in a courtesy call. But there's other funnels as well. So typically with a scorecard, the next thing you want to get them to do, if you can't get hold of them on the phone, is try and push them to something a little bit more with direct involvement with your brand. So a webinar is a good one. So let's give that example again of the company culture one. After the people complete the scorecard, the call to action at the end is, we're running a company culture webinar in a month's time. Sign up here. And if people have got value from that scorecard, they're obviously going to sign up for the webinar too. And then you push people onto the strategy call, sales call, just keep pushing them down the funnel. So it's a great piece for the middle of the funnel, this scorecard campaign. I highly recommend you give it a go no matter what business you've got. Okay, my fifth and final lead magnet campaign idea is consultative selling. This is not really a campaign, I guess. It's not exactly a lead magnet. It's more of a philosophy on how you should be selling. So when my business switched from just like normal sales to consultative selling, it really turned things around for us. It had massive growth for us. And I always try and get my clients to implement this kind of philosophy as well into their business, because I've seen great results with it. Now, this doesn't really work with product-led growth or low-ticket SaaS. But if you're relatively high ticket, if the cost of your SaaS has got a customer lifetime value of a couple of grand plus, consultative selling is probably the way to go. You know, if you're a business that does one-to-one demos with your clients, consultative selling, I think, is really, really powerful. So the way to do this is basically introducing another call for the demo. So keep the demo as your main call to action, because that is what you want people to be doing ultimately, but also introduce something like a free strategy call or a free audit, a free assessment, something along those lines. The reason these work really well is because a lot of people are not ready for a demo. Most of your target audience are not ready for a demo because it's salesy, but a big chunk of your audience have a problem and they're not quite sure how to solve it, and they just want to learn about how to solve this problem, and then they'll be ready to buy a vendor later. So introducing a free, no obligation strategy call, no obligation audit or an assessment is a wonderful way to get people on the call and build a relationship with them. So on the Rocket SaaS website, we used to have request a quote or contact us. That was our main call to action. We now change it to request a free strategy call with Ryan, and our leads just went triple overnight. And we didn't really change anything apart from the name of the button and the context on the landing page. And the strategy calls, it's marketed by saying, you've got problems with your SaaS marketing, you're not getting enough leads, jump on a free, no obligation call with Ryan, and he will give you free advice on how he thinks that you could improve your marketing, how you could get more leads into your SaaS business. It's a 30-minute call. Ryan only does 5 of these per month. Apply here. There's a bit of scarcity in there. And what you want to do is you want to highly qualify people. You only want to be doing these calls with people that you think can afford to go on and work with you. So in the form, when people apply, you ask questions like, what's your monthly revenue, or what's your turnover, what's your headcount, what's your location, whatever the qualification criteria is for you. If they pass qualification in the form, check them out on LinkedIn and you can back up that they qualify, then you do the call with them. And the call, you obviously have to consult. So there's only certain people that can do this call. You need somebody that's genuinely good at consulting and is also good at selling. So it's often not going to be the salesperson because they perhaps don't have the deep subject matter expertise in being able to consult to help people solve these problems. Some of them would do if they're senior. And maybe like head of product's not the right person because they're not great at selling, but ideally it would be the founder. The founder is going to be the best person probably at consulting and helping people solve their problems. And they should have the passion and they should be able to hopefully sell the product as well. So, but the main goal is to consult, not to sell. So the way that the call would run, if it was 30 minutes long, you would do 20, 25 minutes just listening to their problems, giving them free advice. And then the last 5 minutes, that's when you start to introduce your solution. You try to delicately move it along to be a sales conversation where you start talking about your product and how your product could help them solve this problem. And you'd be surprised at how smoothly that can go once you've done a few of them. And then you can naturally transition people at the end of the call to say, so if you're interested in us helping you solve this problem, how about we book you onto a demo next week? And most people will say yes. So what you need to run this campaign is pretty simple. You just need to create a bullet point list of what people will receive from the strategy call. Like these are the things that we typically cover on the call. I recommend having a video of the person that runs the strategy call, just recording a little talking head video of inviting people onto the call, explaining what they're going to get from it. Also, a testimonial from somebody that's done the call. So not a testimonial of somebody that loves your product, a testimonial from somebody saying, oh, that strategy call with Mike was amazing. I highly recommend everybody jumps on it. You'll then also need a landing page. You'll also need, obviously, an application form that can be synced to your CRM, and you'll then obviously need to market it. So this campaign sits a little bit more towards the bottom of the funnel. I wouldn't quite call it middle of the funnel. I wouldn't quite call it the bottom of the funnel. It's kind of somewhere between the middle and the bottom. So this should be the call to action at the end of a lot of your blogs, videos, ebooks, newsletters, webinars, workshops, podcasts, scorecards. pump out that free offer, that free strategy call. And that can be a fantastic way of getting more leads, more calls booked for your sales team or your founder or whoever's going to run these, as opposed to just trying to get people onto a demo call, which is very salesy, and you're kind of missing out on the people that aren't quite ready. So introducing that kind of alternate call, which is helping you solve a problem, it's consultative, it's free, it's no obligation, that can just get you having a lot more calls and then can nurture a really big percentage of those people onto the demo. So that is it. Those are my 5 favorite SaaS marketing lead magnet campaign ideas. In next week's podcast, I'm going to be talking to you about how to distribute those campaigns. I've given you a few tips and hints here about how I would market those campaigns, but in the next episode, I'm going to go into a deep dive into how you can distribute these campaigns far and wide, because you can create the greatest campaign ever, like all the ones that I've mentioned today, but if you don't distribute it properly, you're just not going to get any leads. So there's 2 things when it comes to campaigns, creating it and distributing it. So tune in next week and I'll be going through all of that. And if you've been listening intently to this episode, you'll know what my calls to action are going to be. My calls to action is going to be, firstly, the newsletter. So if you like this podcast, if you like these kind of tips, if you want more, go to saasmarketingweekly.com, sign up to the newsletter. It's totally free and it's written by me. I give you free tips and strategies and ideas like this in your inbox every Thursday morning. Or if you're interested in working with me and Rocket SaaS to become an extension of your marketing team or to become your whole marketing team, if you don't have one, go to rocket-saas.io. Our pricing is very transparent. You can see how much it costs to work with us. You can learn more about us. You can book a call with me. I'd love to chat with you. All right. Thanks very much. See you next week.